Well, hello and welcome to the Edgewood 4G podcast. My name is Kyle. I'm the discipleship pastor here, and here at Edgewood, we go with the 4Gs to gather, grow, give, and go with the gospel. And today I'm here with Sheila Kuriscak, who's over our children's ministry and women's ministry. Great to have you, Sheila.
It's great to be here.
You know, we were just kind of talking about before this about how it's snowing. It's April.
Yes.
And it's been snowing the last 2 days. It's not really sticking, but it does kind of make me a little sad. I don't know about you.
Spring's coming. It really is.
That's what Punxsutawney Phil said.
It'll be about 2 days of spring, and then it'll be summer. So then you'll be complaining that it's too hot.
In March, it was nice, and then it got cold again. So I don't know what happened. But
crazy.
Anyways, we're glad to have you on. This is your first time on the podcast, I believe.
It is. Yeah, I think so.
So we've tried to have all the staff, as well as our go-team partners and other people interviewing. So finally we got Sheila nailed down here. And so we want to just hear about your ministry and everything you do here. But then also, I want to hear a little bit about your history, how you guys got here, how you came to faith, and then, what your ministry's been like the last 40 plus years here.
Yeah. So I'm a Michigan girl.
Yeah.
So I was born in Detroit. Grew up in a little town called Belleville that's in between Detroit and Ann Arbor. So this weather's like, I'm used to this.
This is normal.
We had Memorial Day weekends that looked like this.
Oh.
So, yes, and we'd be camping. So, I'm kind of used to this. But I grew up in a family that did not go to church. Okay. My father came up north from North Carolina to work in the car factories. That's a lot of people did that. Yep. And so he kind of got turned off with church when he was growing up. Okay. And so we just, that wasn't part of our life. But when I was in 5th grade, some people came by that had a bus ministry.
Oh, yeah.
And
that was big back then.
Yeah, and asked us if we'd like to ride the bus. And we did one Sunday, but then the next Sunday, my mom said, I'm going to take you to church. Okay. So we went to that church for a while, made a switch. At the previous church, I actually made a profession of faith in a Sunday school class as a 5th grader. Okay. But looking back, I think it was what other people were doing at the time. Mm-hmm. I don't think I totally understood it. And so later on, I'm the oldest of 3 girls, and we all started going to the Christian school. That was another big thing back there in the 70s, that every church had a Christian school for the most part. That's how it felt. And so I was under a lot of conviction that I wasn't sure. I had a lot of insecurity about my salvation. And so a revival team came to our church called Life Action. Oh, okay. And I held out until about Tuesday night, and then I was just like, I was done in. I just had to go forward. And so I did. Pastor's wife talked to me, prayed with me. That night, we got baptized. There was no waiting. It was just like you just went and
kind of like in the Bible.
Yeah, it was like in the Bible. And so that was a great experience, and just making sure, so from there, after I graduated, I went to Bob Jones University for a year in South Carolina.
I didn't know that.
Yep.
I used to live right near there in Greenville.
So I loved it, actually, just being away from home. Yeah. It was kind of cool. And
it didn't matter where it was.
Right. It was cool. But when I came back in the summer, the church that I attended had a Bible Institute, but they said in the fall they were going to expand that to a 4-year college, and would I be interested in attending? And I thought, you know what? It was nice being away from home, but I did miss home, and so I wanted to be a little closer. And it was there that I met Ed. Okay. And so we were married in 1976. Wow, and we both were continuing our education. I was working on a master's degree at Eastern Michigan University in Ypsilanti, Michigan. That's a mouthful, right? Yeah, that's And Ed was working on his master's degree in Bible. Yeah. And he told the story when he was on about getting the phone call. from a guy named Mel Brown in a place called Rock Island. We had no idea. We're like, is it an island?
Is it an island? This could be exotic.
Is it full of rocks? We were just like, we were not sure how that was all going. And I was kind of hesitant. I wanted to stay in Michigan because Ed had always said he wanted to go back to Life Action because he had been on the team.
Yeah.
He shared that in his podcast as well. And so wasn't real thrilled with the whole idea of it. But we came and we candidated. We fell in love. And he was offered the job, and we moved here in July of 1979.
Okay.
So at that time, I was teaching school at East Moline Christian School, taught there for a year. Okay. And that year, I got pregnant, and Michael was born in 1980. So I stopped teaching school so I could be home, but I also was helping Ed with youth ministry and teaching children's church and just,
as a pastor's wife.
Right.
You were on staff. You were just unpaid staff.
Right. So it went we did that for a long time. And then when our kids were a little bit older, I was thinking I wanted to find something. I didn't know if I wanted to teach full time. So I had a friend who started a State Farm agency in Milan, brand new State Farm agency. Okay. So she asked me if I wanted to work there part-time. I did that. It was okay, but it wasn't ministry. That was the thing that really was hard. And so at that time, Ed had a group of youth pastors that he hung out with, and there was one youth pastor who said, "Hey, my church is looking for a part-time children's ministry director. Would your wife be interested in that?" And Ed goes, "Well, that's kind of tough. We're busy on Sundays." And they said, "Oh, we'll work with you. We'll make this happen." And so that was First United Presbyterian in Moline. And great church, met a lot of wonderful people. And it really was a training ground for ministry. I learned a lot of things. But then after 6 years there, part-time, Edgewood decided that they needed a children's ministry director. And I was like, I would love to do that. And so that's how that happened. So that was 2001.
And then did you start off full-time or part-time?
Part-time. Okay. Started part-time, which was like full-time. You know how that works.
Right, yep.
And so we're working with the kids, working with Awana, and still helping Ed with youth. So I still have that going on as well. So we had busy lives. Our boys. We have 3 sons, and our boys were very. They had a lot of things going on. We were busy with them, busy with church, but it was a good time.
And so then, in what year did you officially go full time? And take
you know
on
what? I am
ministry?
Not sure. I'd have to look back. It probably was part time, maybe 4 or 5 years. Okay. And then it was just like, okay, this. And it might have even been a graduated thing, like went a little 3/4 time, and then eventually, Okay. So. And were you already leading the women's ministry at that point? No. Okay. No, not at all. That came on a few years later. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Gotcha. Before we move on to those questions, I want to hear from Sheila, everyone's burning question of what it's like to be married to Pastor Ed. We just have to know, what is that like? He's a wild and crazy guy. There's never a dull moment. Oh, I bet. Never a dull moment. And he's got I have a lot of energy, but he has tons of energy. He has a lot. He is, I was mentioning to you, it's hard. It's always been hard to, like on his day off, when he was working full time, his day off, the phone would ring and I'd be like, don't answer that. Just let it go. You can deal with it tomorrow. Right. And he'd answer it and get sucked into something, And so now with being, part-time, he just did air quotes. She just did air quotes for those who are listening and not watching this. So I still have to, remind him, hey, you're not supposed to go in today, remember? You're part-time. You're part-time. You're, as Dave calls him, a short timer. A short timer. Yeah.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Well, thanks for sharing that little nugget there. Well, just getting into your ministries now, children's ministry, women's ministry. What has changed over the last 20 plus years in children's ministry? Okay,
Wow.
think back late 90s, early 2000s.
Right.
What is different now
Right.
than back then?
And I've been thinking about that since you gave me that question ahead of time. That was nice. Kids have changed.
They have, I believe.
They have
so.
really changed. And there's several things that I think contribute to that.
Yeah.
So for sure, technology.
Yeah.
The beginning of 20 years ago, just starting with the video games and just being, so a part of their lives, right? Screens, so much more a part of their lives. Cell phones, all of that technology has made an impact on kids as well as our culture at large, right?
Yeah, one of those things would be just their attention spans.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Kids that could sit normally for
20 minutes. You don't do that anymore.
They got to get up and move around or do something interactive. Yeah.
The other thing is, I feel like kids are busier. There's just more options. Like we've seen that in Awana, because Awana used to have what they called the Awana Olympics at the beginning, and there was Bible quizzing, and there were lots of other things going on. In ministry, you could do so many more things, but now it's just hard because families are so booked.
There's much more vying for their attention.
Right.
Yeah.
And like sports, back then it would be Little League maybe, but now, there's just so many traveling teams and so many other things that are going on. And so much more pressure. Like you got to do this. If you want to play ball in college, you have to do this, right?
Yeah.
And so then I think that that's a difference. But I think, the kids have changed, but the message hasn't changed, right? The gospel hasn't changed, and their need for the gospel hasn't changed. And so, so just like here, the church at large, we have the same message, but our methods maybe change.
Yep.
And we take that into account. The shorter attention span, the knowing that families are busy, they're not going to commit to 3 times here at church every week or whatever, but just tapping into the things that are available to us.
Yeah.
So, definitely.
And there's a lot going on with the children's ministry. There's opportunities all through the weekend.
Right.
And now we're doing the gospel project. And so it's very focused on Jesus, his life, death, resurrection, the miracles, but also the whole story of Scripture is what they'll be going through over the course of a few years.
And that's what I appreciate about it. And one of the things that really try to emphasize is that many years ago, even in Awana, it was so much rote memorization. Like, get through your book, memorize these verses. You don't know what they mean, but cram them in your head anyways, right? And just the emphasis on discipleship, but also that the Bible is God's story, and the gospel is throughout God's word, and helping them to understand that everything in the Old Testament, it was leading to God's rescue plan for Jesus to come. And just, as we teach those stories, and Gospel Project is great at that, pointing back to Christ. Even the Old Testament stories, it's about Christ. It's about the rescue plan. Yeah. And so, again, I think that kids get that. Yeah. They do get that. I mean, somebody was, I told somebody the other day, I remember hearing Howard Hendricks, old teacher, taught a lot about, how to teach, how to preach. And he said it is a sin to bore a kid with the Bible. Oh,
that's good.
And that's true. That sticks in my mind. And I'm thinking, I look at all the stories. Like we have the big timeline downstairs in the kids' church room, the Gospel Project timeline that starts in Genesis and ends in Revelation. And I'm thinking, how can you bore anybody with all of these amazing stories? Right.
Yeah.
So
that's a great point. Talk about the summers, how those have changed, and how kind of we've gone from Super Saturdays to now doing the
so when we first came, Ed was tasked with that. We came in July, and he was tasked with starting Awana in September. if you know anything about Awana, that's not a lot of time to kick that off.
Oh my goodness!
Like
Wow.
recruit and
expectations were
yes,
high.
Yeah, they were very high, and we still we're like a legend in Awana history because the story is told that the Awana missionary came to train them, get them ready to go. It was like 2 weeks before club was going to start, and he came, and in the center of the table were all the materials still in a box.
Oh no!
It hadn't even been taken out of the box yet, and so wow.
Yeah.
But I forget where we were going with that. You got
summer.
Oh yeah. So when we came that first summer, there was no VBS because it was Pastor Brown and his wife Barb were the ones who did VBS.
Oh wow. Okay.
And so the next summer, everybody who would serve in VBS were exhausted from serving in Awana. So for years there was no VBS, and so. One of the first, maybe the first summer that I was officially an employee, there was a missionary intern who was kind of my assistant. Her name was Stephanie, and we put our heads together and we said, you know what? Why don't we do a one-day VBS, just one Saturday, and we'll just have it all day, and it's just me and her. We'll figure it out. And it was just me and her, and we had 68 kids, and we're like, okay, well, there you go.
Whoops.
So then the next summer, we decided to do 3 of those Saturdays, and we called them Super Saturdays. And we
June,
did
July,
that,
August.
right? One in June, one in July, and one in August, which was great because they had plenty of help because there was not the problem of people working during the day or sports in the evening. So it worked out really well. It was hard because you set up and tore down 3 times and kind of spread the work out throughout the whole summer. But it was good. But then somebody challenged me. I see, what was his name? I think his name was Kyle. Kyle challenged me to
Kyle?
Yes. I think it was 2022, right? When you went to Belize.
Yeah, because I think this will be the 3rd summer.
Yeah. So he said, you were taking students to Belize, going to do VBS down there, and you asked if I would consider a 3-day. And I said, you know what? I'm just tired enough of tearing down and setting up 3 times that I will give that a try. Yeah. And we've done that. This will be the 3rd summer.
Yeah.
But we call that Super Summer Slam.
Yeah.
So trying to tie it into the Super Saturdays. And it's gone really well. The students have been a huge part of that. And Mainspring. Mainspring being a huge part. And so we're looking forward to doing that again this summer. But we're doing Belize before VBS.
Yeah,
right.
Which is great. We have 32 people going, and Ed and Sheila are going. Some of us other pastors and pastors' wives are going as well. So it'll be a really good opportunity.
It's going to be cool. So my goal is to utilize that team when we come back a week later to do it here. So
hopefully it'll work out well.
Yeah.
Good.
So
what about women's ministry? You haven't been in it as long as children's ministry. What changes have you seen? What things excite you about women's ministry and what God's doing there?
So women's ministry just came about because there were women who wanted to see a women's ministry start. There was pressure there, and people willing to jump in and do it. Yeah. And so through that, God just formed a great team of women that just had a heart for reaching women with the gospel and connecting them in a church our size. That's always the challenge, just connect them, and then to help them grow as well. And so the first thing we did was some kind of, I can't even remember what we called it, but it was an all-day Saturday event here, and it was just it just gave us momentum to continue. Yeah. And I'm excited, first of all, about just the team of women that I work with. They are just a great team of women, and they have. We want to make sure that we are reaching women, and to do that, we know that we need outreaches, things that women feel comfortable coming to, and they can be exposed to the gospel, be exposed to other Christian women, and so we do 2 main outreaches, which is we have a spring luncheon coming up May 4th, and then at Christmas time we do our big Christmas parties. And so those are fun events, but we very clearly present the gospel.
Yeah.
And so, but then we want people to grow. So we have Bible studies. We have, we just had last month a learning lab where it's kind of like all-day Bible study, just in depth. We were in the book of Colossians. And we do fun things, too. We do craft day, and we do what we call coffee connections and conversations, which are just coming together, low prep, low expectation, but a high interest subject that they can be, talk about and enjoy learning about. So those have been fun.
Good.
Really fun.
Yeah,
so.
That's great. So you officially lead children's ministry, women's ministry. Are there any other areas that you're passionate about these days? Or are there certain areas of your ministry that you're passionate about that you really enjoy, really energize you in your ministry?
Right. Well, I love it when I see people, whether it's young families inviting other young families, and we've seen so much of that in children's ministry. Yeah. And so there has been a lot of new families. It's just really exciting to see that they're excited about what is happening for their kids, and they tell others, and they come. And so, that I love that. Yeah. And the same with the women's ministry, too, is that somebody will say, I'm bringing 4 or 5 friends to the coffee connection conversations because, they don't know Christ, but they would come to something like this, right? Yeah. So that's always is excites me. That's a cool thing.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. See how God works in different ways. Yeah, very good. Now that you're seeking replacement, right? This has kind of been a process, longer process, so that you can go part-time, like Ed has gone part-time, again, with air quotes. Yeah. But you'll be focused on women's ministry. But what other things will you focus on, whether with the church or outside of the church, once that kind of takes place and that transition happens?
I right now, I don't have the bandwidth for women's ministry to do it well. Again, I have a great team, and they do a lot of connecting and cards.
I feel the weight of that with
that.
men's ministry because that's one of several things I lead as well, and I have a great team. But again, it's like would love to give more time and energy to it.
Right, and so I look forward to that. And we were talking about it would be cool to have a men's podcast and a women's podcast. How cool would that be? But that again is another thing to add to the list. But that would be something that I would like to give more attention to. I love teaching. I love teaching kids, but I do love teaching women too. So, what does that look like? I think that's kind of a cool thing. Just spending, for sure, Ed and I both have a goal of spending more time with our grandkids. Yeah. So they range in age from 3 to 18 and a half. So it's a broad range. There's 10 of them. And
wow. That is a lot.
We look forward to that. We'd also would love to, we're going to Belize. It would be, we'd love to do other short-term missions things. Right. And that would be, we would have more freedom to do that. So that would be a neat thing as well.
And you guys also have a growth group that meets in your home.
Yes, on Thursday nights.
And how long have you guys been doing that one?
That's a good question. Maybe, I'm going to get in trouble with this, 4 years, maybe?
Okay. That sounds right.
Yeah, sounds about right.
Sounds
so
right.
A great group of couples. We just enjoy. We're all busy, so it's hard to do life together.
Right.
But we pray for one another and keep in touch with one another throughout the weeks. Just being there for each other. Yeah. So that's a cool thing that we would want to consider. Continue.
Right. Yeah.
And we tell people, hey, this is our church. We're not going anywhere.
Right.
And so we would still be involved in those kinds of things for sure.
Very good. And what about free time, Sheila? Does that exist for you?
Yeah.
And if you have any, what do you do in your free time?
So,
what do you enjoy doing?
Love hanging out with the family. I love to cook. I love just having a good time with the family. We had I had 28 people for lunch on Sunday after teaching.
Oh my goodness.
Easter lesson. It was okay. It was fine. And God was gracious because it didn't rain during our Easter egg hunt.
Yeah, we had a short window too where we did our Easter egg hunt.
I was like, oh my goodness, great.
Yeah.
So I love to garden.
Okay.
So in fact, I'm just worried about my plants right now, all that snow and all that stuff. But it is something that I do enjoy. I love junk. So
Do tell more.
I love thrift stores and antique stores, and the junkier the better, that kind of thing. Although I'm probably at my limit.
Do you like
of
to
how
collect
much
it, or
junk.
you like to restore stuff?
No, I don't restore it. I just take it as it is. I love rust and just stick it in the yard, let it rust a little bit more, and it's great.
There you go.
So, yeah.
Very good. Oh, it's great to hear different things that people enjoy.
I know, right?
So
Right.
You never
It
know.
is.
Well, thanks for sharing today,
Sure.
Sheila. I appreciate you just sharing a little bit about your experience. It's been great having the different ministry leaders here. I think it's good for our people to just hear more, because there's stuff you shared today that I learned that I didn't know. We've known each other for 8 years, and so I'm sure that happens quite a bit. So, thanks again.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, thank you again for tuning into the Edgewood 4G podcast. We appreciate you guys being a part of this, engaging with it, whether you're listening or engaging online with it. But if you do us a favor and share this with others, you could leave us a rating and review, especially if you're on Apple or Spotify. That helps it to get it out to more people. And we'd just love to continue to bless people through this ministry and through Edgewood. But thanks again, and we will see you next time.